Looking back, I mean, did you see anything suspicious in the days leading up to her abduction? Did you notice anything? Have you been racking your brains to try to think whether people might have been watching?
We didn't.
If we did, we wouldn't tell you because it may be important information, but we didn't, you know. It was such a relaxing holiday, and in fact, as a family unit, up until that night, and with the friends we were here, certainly for us, it was as good a holiday as we have had with the children, up until that point.
You have to keep believing that Madeleine is still going to be found alive and well.
Absolutely,
Do you ever, though, allow yourself to drift towards negative thoughts?
I think in the early days we did, and I think that's inevitable. I think any parent who's been through this does that, certainly in the first few days. We don't now. We're actually a lot stronger, a lot more hopeful now. And we have to be hopeful. It's what keeps us going and keeps us focused.
And what about Sean and Emily? What have you said to them about their big sister?
They're really good. I mean, they're at an age really where they're still quite young, and I guess it hasn't had the same impact on them as if they were a little bit older. They do talk about Madeleine, they pick up things and say Madeleine's, you know, and that's fine, but they're really good.
I think that's, you know, something that many people have said to us, that this is a parent's worst nightmare, and it is. It truly is, and it's as bad as you can possibly imagine. But, you know, if all three of the children had been taken, it could have been even worse than your worst nightmare. And we've got to be strong for them. You know, they're here. They do bring you back to earth, and we cannot, you know, grieve. One, we did grieve, of course we grieve, but ultimately we need to be in control so that we can influence and help in any way possible. Not just Sean and Emily, but the investigation.
It was supposed to be the perfect vacation. A warm May evening in Praia da Luz, a quiet seaside village in Portugal, where British tourists blended easily with locals. The sun had just set over the Atlantic, the air calm and the streets peaceful. At apartment 5A of the Ocean Club Resort, the McCann family was winding down another relaxing day. Jerry and Kate McCann, both respected doctors from the UK, were vacationing with their 3 young children, Madeleine, their 3-year-old daughter, and 2-year-old twins, Sean and Amelie. Along with a close circle of friends known as the Tapas 7, they had planned this getaway as a break from busy medical lives. Every night followed the same rhythm. Parents dined at the Tapas restaurant, just a short walk away, and took turns checking on their sleeping children in their apartments. It was a routine they all felt comfortable with. It felt safe. But on the night of May 3rd, 2007, everything unraveled. At around 10 p.m., Kate McCann returned to the apartment for her routine check. Sean and Amelie were still asleep in their cots, but Madeleine's bed was empty. The little girl with big eyes and blonde hair was gone. In panic, Kate ran back to the restaurant, shouting a phrase that would echo across headlines for years to come. "They've taken her." That moment marked the beginning of one of the most mysterious and controversial missing child cases of the 21st century. From the outside, the McCanns seemed like the definition of success. Jerry was a consultant cardiologist, a highly demanding and respected position in the UK medical field. Kate, a general practitioner, was equally accomplished. They were educated, well off, and deeply involved in their careers. More importantly, they were doting parents to 3 young children. Their lives, at least from the surface, painted the picture of a modern, accomplished, loving family. They had chosen Praia da Luz because it was familiar and safe. The area, often called Little Britain for its large population of British tourists and expats, seemed perfect for families. The Ocean Club Resort offered tennis courts, swimming pools, childcare services, and even evening babysitting, though the McCanns and their friends opted to check on their children themselves. Every night they followed a simple system. Each couple would leave their sleeping children in the apartment and take turns checking on them every 20 to 30 minutes. But there was one decision that would later haunt them and fuel intense scrutiny. The apartment doors were left unlocked. The reasoning was simple: to avoid waking the children while checking in. But for many, it seemed reckless, especially in a foreign country. Why would educated, resourceful parents risk leaving their children alone, unprotected, and unmonitored? When the investigation began, what once was seen as a symbol of parental trust now became a point of public outrage. How could such loving parents make a choice so careless? As the media latched onto every detail, the image of the perfect McCann family began to crack. Public sympathy quickly morphed into suspicion. What were they hiding? The idyllic postcard of a happy family on vacation had been replaced with something darker, a family under a spotlight, surrounded by questions they could not, or would not, answer. Between 8:30 p.m. and 10:00 p.m. on the night of May 3rd lies a span of time now known as the Golden Window. 90 minutes. That was all it took for Madeleine McCann to vanish without a trace. At around 6:40 p.m., David Payne, one of the Tapa 7, saw Madeleine in the McCann apartment. She was playing, waiting for the evening to unfold. This was the last independent sighting of her. After that, only the McCanns and their close circle would see the children again, at least as far as we know. Jerry went to play tennis at 7:00 p.m. By 8:30 p.m., both Jerry and Kate had arrived at the Tapas restaurant to join their friends for dinner. The restaurant was just a short walk away from their apartment. Before heading out, Kate had checked on the kids and all seemed fine. According to their usual routine, members of the group would periodically leave dinner to check on their children. But that night, something shifted. At 10:00 p.m., when Kate went to look in on Madeleine again, she found the room quiet. The twins were asleep, but Madeleine's bed was empty. That short, chaotic moment began a desperate search that continues to this day. In those 90 minutes, theories abound. Could someone have slipped in and taken her without leaving a trace? Could she have wandered out and been lost? Or, what many have come to question, could something tragic have happened much earlier, and the golden window was only a carefully constructed illusion? Some believe an accidental death occurred earlier in the evening, and that the 90 minutes were used not to search, but to plan, conceal, and rehearse a story. One that began with a scream, "They've taken her." From a logical standpoint, 90 minutes is not much time, not enough to cover up a death, remove a body, clean a scene, unless it was done quickly with a plan and by people who understood how to avoid detection. People like 2 trained doctors. Could the McCanns, armed with medical knowledge, have acted out of panic? Could they have tried to preserve Madeleine's body temporarily, in a fridge, some suggested, and later moved it discreetly in an ordinary item like a tennis bag? Far-fetched, perhaps. But within that 90-minute window, anything seems possible. And that's precisely what makes it so haunting. In the days following Madeleine's disappearance, investigators began to focus not only on timelines and testimonies, but also on things that were no longer there. 3 items in particular stood out, each one small, ordinary, even mundane. But together, they formed a chilling triangle: the missing fridge, Jerry's tennis bag, and Madeleine herself. Let's start with the fridge. According to reports, the refrigerator in the McCann's holiday apartment was removed by Jerry. No clear explanation was ever given, and in any other case, no one would question the disappearance of a kitchen appliance. But under these circumstances, it sparked whispers. Why remove the fridge? Why now? Medical professionals understand decomposition. They know how quickly the human body changes after death. A fridge could delay that, preserve the body, buy time, and if panic took hold, as some theories suggest, it could have been an instinctual move. Preserve first, think later. Then came the tennis bag. Jerry McCann was seen carrying a large tennis bag to and from the courts. It was never seen again after Madeleine vanished. The bag was large enough to fit a small child. He returned from his game, still dressed in tennis clothes, carrying the bag. Nothing seemed unusual until later. In hindsight, some believe that bag may have been used to move something far more tragic than sports gear. But, of course, the third and most heartbreaking thing that vanished was Madeleine herself. The possibility, as painful as it is this: that an accident happened earlier in the day or evening, that, overwhelmed by grief and fear, the McCanns attempted to preserve her body, that Jerry may have used the bag to move her discreetly, and that the fridge, too, played a role, perhaps only for hours, but enough to change the timeline entirely. There's no direct proof, no camera footage, no eyewitness. But in a case built on speculation, these missing items have become symbols of silence, concealment, and unanswered questions. Ordinary objects, a fridge, a bag, and a child. As the years passed, 2 main theories emerged from the shadows surrounding Madeleine's disappearance, each haunting in its own way. The first paints a picture of tragedy. The second, something far more sinister. Theory 1, accidental death followed by panic and concealment. According to this version, something went horribly wrong that night. Perhaps Madeleine woke up, climbed somewhere she shouldn't have, fell, and died. Her parents, Jerry and Kate, doctors, yes, but also exhausted humans on vacation, panicked. They didn't call for help. They didn't call the police. They froze. And in that freeze, they made choices to preserve the body, to hide it, to buy time. The fridge and the tennis bag, in this theory, were not calculated tools of crime, but desperate means to delay the unbearable. Their knowledge of medicine, of decomposition, of what an autopsy might reveal, all of it may have overwhelmed them. What if she had been sedated to keep her asleep and something went wrong? What if a simple accident could cost them their remaining children, their careers, their freedom? So, instead of facing that, they created a narrative. They've taken her. A story meant to protect. But then comes Theory 2. Child exploitation, complicity, and human trafficking. It's the darkest theory and the hardest to believe. It suggests Madeleine wasn't lost to an accident, but to a system. That she may have been drugged, as some allege the McCanns did regularly to ensure the children slept. That someone, maybe even someone they knew, took her that night. That the parents weren't victims, but participants, willingly or reluctantly. Supporters of this theory point to the quick leap to the abduction narrative, to the missing blood traces, to statements Kate made, such as, "They've taken her," spoken with eerie certainty, to the books on child trafficking found in their possession, to the calm, almost staged media appearances. They even point fingers at Jerry's demeanor, his duping delight, the subtle smiles during interviews, the evasive language. But this theory requires a leap that many cannot take, because it asks us to believe that two intelligent, seemingly devoted parents knowingly gave up their child. And yet, neither theory fully explains the facts. Neither theory answers all questions. No one saw anything. No one heard screams. No evidence of forced entry. No body. No confession. Just 90 minutes of darkness, a missing fridge, a vanished bag, and a family forever changed. Today, Christian Bruckner, a convicted pedophile, has emerged as a potential suspect. But even if his guilt is proven, the strange behavior of the McCanns, their choices that night, and the gaps in their story will always remain a shadow on the case. The world continues to ask, was Madeleine the victim of a tragic accident, or something even darker? And if so, who truly was they? Years have passed, but her name has never faded. Madeleine McCann, 3 years old, gone without a trace, and left behind a silence that screams louder with time. What happened on that night in Praia da Luz may never be fully known. Was it an accident, a panic-stricken cover-up, or the cold machinery of trafficking hidden behind a veil of privilege and reputation? For some, the McCanns are grieving parents, devastated, broken, and judged by a world that can't comprehend the depth of their loss. For others, they are something else entirely, architects of a story that never added up, performers in a play written too fast and too well. And in between those two extremes lies the space where truth often hides, in contradiction, in silence, in what was done and what was not. What we do know is this: a little girl disappeared, and with her went the trust we place in comfort, in community, in the illusion of safety. Every locked door now raises doubt. Every missing hour becomes a crime scene, and every smiling family photo, once warm, now carries a question. They said, "They've taken her," but who exactly is they? And will we ever truly know?